They say the most powerful magic isn't found in a dusty tome or a hidden cave. It's found in the corners of our daily lives, the way we set our intentions and build a life that feels as sacred as it does successful. Welcome to the Coven's Corner. We're here to bring you grounded, accessible magic every Witchy Wednesday, and there's a seat at our table for you. So grab a cup of tea, and let's look at the world a little differently. Our circle is open. Let's begin. Hi, and welcome to the very first episode of the Coven's Corner. I'm Kacey.
And I'm Dawn. We're so excited to finally pull up a chair to this altar with all of you.
This podcast has been a long time coming. We wanted to create a space that feels like your favorite local herb shop. A little bit educational, a little bit mysterious, but mostly just a place for a good conversation between friends.
Yeah, exactly. Whether you've been practicing for 20 years or whether you just bought your first tarot deck, there's a seat here for you. So talking about how long it has been that we've had this in the works, how long would you say that we've been talking about doing this?
Oh, I'd say at least 2 years.
At least. So now finally the time is right.
The stars are aligned.
Yeah, I was just going to say something like that. And here we are, and here you are. So thank you for joining us.
So today is all about introductions. We're going to share our origin stories and dive into some witchy identity questions so you can get to know the voices behind the ravens.
All right, so let's talk about our origin stories. So Kacey, why don't you start? How did witchcraft find you?
Well, I definitely can say that it started for me at a very young age. I've always been the weird kid that likes to play out in the woods, making potions with berries and leaves, and finding like pretty rocks to pick up. Always the kid on the beach collecting rocks and seashells and anything that I could find that felt magical to me. I didn't have a term for it at that point, but things that felt magical to me. And so I've always kind of had that nature vibe going. But I will say when I first started actually practicing witchcraft, I was about 12 years old, and one of my best friends and I, we were out at the mall just doing the thing that 12-year-olds do. And we went into a bookstore and we saw on display this book. I think it was called something like The History and Practice of Witchcraft or something along those lines. And it was on display, and it was a black cover with flames on it. And so we just were immediately drawn to that, and we both reached for it at the same time. And when we touched it, it was hot to the touch. So we felt like that spark right there. So of course we had to buy the book. Of course. And so we started practicing together. She was very much a natural weather witch. So that was really fun. I feel like my brand of magic usually falls more in the nurturing side of things, like being an empath and being able to feel other people's emotions. That's really kind of where my magical practice derives from. And obviously, like being a Cancer, I love to cook, so being a kitchen witch is definitely part of my vibe too. But yeah, that was kind of our first foray into witchcraft. I don't believe the friend still practices, but that kind of started me on my path. And then when I was in college, probably around like 19 or 20, I started doing energy work. So a lot of our listeners probably have heard of Reiki. I started doing a Reiki practice. I learned how to do that, and found a lot of literature on the practice of witchcraft, which is Wicca. And so that really just felt like coming home to me. And so, having this female-based natural earth practice that follows the cycles of the seasons and follows how the moon phases go, and follows astrological things for me. That was really where I dedicated myself to the study and practice of witchcraft. So I do consider myself a Wiccan. I have been practicing for, many years now, and I run at a local New Age shop. I run celebrations for all of the holidays. We call them Sabbats or Sabbats. And so I've been, kind of sharing what I've learned over the course of my practice with others that want to learn more about it too. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell. What about you, Dawn?
Oh, yeah. A lot of similarities. Again, being out in the woods, mixing potions with sticks and adding water to it, and then thankfully I never drank it, or
No.
I didn't give it to anybody to drink, so that's probably a good thing. So for me, again, I always felt like odd man out, and sometimes I still do.
Right.
And I'm sure everybody has that in them as well, but I can remember being little, like 5, 6, 7 years old, and being out in the yard and looking up at the moon and thinking it was the most incredibly beautiful thing I had ever seen. And I could feel the energy from the moon. And people said, "You're crazy, you can't feel that, it's all in your imagination," but I felt it. And so I've always had an affinity and attraction, and great respect for the moon and the things that she influences. Also, books. You talked about books. That's so funny. I mean, it always seems to come from books. But in my day, we didn't have a whole lot of books. We had Buckland, and I think we had one Cunningham book that were out. But there was Drawing Down the Moon. So I did get that, and it was a really good kind of introduction to a lot of different paths and practices and where Wicca might be going. So that was really my first deep dive into what I thought or knew was out there, and I needed to know more about it. And then The Mists of Avalon came out, and that is my, it's just my all-time favorite. I have all the books, I've seen all the movies, and there's just something about it that, again, makes me feel like home. It's very comfortable. I guess that's how I would put it. So I've just taken things from there and done more research, and it's so great that there's so much information available out there now for people who are just starting out. We didn't have a whole lot of that back when I started, so a lot of it was trial and error. I can remember sitting in my room as like a 12-year-old and lighting candles all over my room. And I didn't know why I was doing it, just felt that was the thing to do. And then staring into the flame and asking questions and see what direction the flame went in and how I was going to interpret all of the stuff that was going on. So it's been quite the journey. It's been a really good journey. And I'm actually excited to be here with you and finally getting this into motion.
Oh, that's great. So to keep us moving, we've got a lightning round of questions. So Dawn, what was your first whisper? So the first spooky thing that hooked you?
I've always been a horror movie buff as little as I can remember. I remember I was spending the summer at my sister's house when the Exorcist came out, and I was 12. And I asked her if I could watch it, and she said, "Absolutely not." And I said, "Well, what if I called Dad and ask him?" And she went, "Go ahead, you call him, and you let me know what he says." Well, Dad said yes. So I watched The Exorcist, scared the bejesus out of me.
Of course.
But again, it was lighting a candle, a flame inside me. Like, there are more things that I need to look at, many more things. And then it's actually happened before that. In 1975, Hush, I went to the drive-in with my parents to see Escape from Witch Mountain. So I was only 9 then. And it was about Tony and Tia. They were orphans. And there was this rich, eccentric guy who was trying to harvest their powers or put them under his control so that they would use their powers for the things that he wanted the powers used for. So they were telekinetic, they were psychic, and through this whole journey, it ends up, not to ruin the ending for you, but I'm going to ruin the ending for you. They were aliens, and they were trying to get back to their mothership. So that was other than the books that I had looked at, that was really what got me interested in looking deeper.
Nice. Very nice. So for me, I think all of it really started for me when I discovered astrology. I've always been fascinated with Western astrology, the zodiac signs, really learning more about myself and more about other people through these things. Even to this day, my coworkers, my friends will all tell you one of the first things I will ask you when I meet you is, what's your sign? And if you don't know that, what's your birthday? So that to me was my first kind of foray into like the occultism. So from that, I've always been very influenced by, the stars, the moon, as you were mentioning the moon is such an important, thing, especially as a Cancer, that's our ruling planet. And so it's always been just really fascinating to me that all these things have like existed for thousands of years. And, so that was something that I kind of started with. And then I will say for witchcraft specifically, it was probably the movie that came out mid-1990s, The Craft. That was a big one for me. It was teenagers practicing witchcraft, with these incredible powers. And that to me was just so fascinating. And the fact that it was so nature-oriented and, and I found out, I've watched the movie many times and have done some research on it. And they actually did have a practicing witchcraft, a practicing witch on set who was giving information and making sure that the movie was as accurate as possible.
That's great.
So yeah, that was really fascinating to me. And so, a lot of the things that they say in the movies are things that, you find in rituals today. So that was definitely probably my first foray into witchcraft specifically. And that came out probably right around the same time as my friend and I found that book.
Right.
So it was definitely like almost divinely timed.
Nice.
So
now I have to go back and watch it again because it's been a long time since I've seen it. I'm looking at it from a different perspective now. And it's funny that you brought up the moon and stars. And so do you remember those adhesive stars and planets and moons that you would stick on your ceiling or on your walls? I'm trying to get my husband to let me do that in our bedroom, but so far no deal.
I have done that to my son's entire ceiling. There are about probably close to 1,000 of those little stickers on his ceiling.
Yeah, my youngest had them on his everywhere.
Yep.
And I would lay in his bed and stare at them. Of course, under the guise that I was trying to get him to fall asleep.
Of course. All right, so next question. So for your current path, describe your magic in 3 words or less.
I would have to say genuine, earthy. Again, like you, being grounded in the earth is very important, and soulful. Yeah, I feel it in my soul when I'm practicing, when I'm doing spell work, when I'm doing ritual. It's something that's deep. It's ingrained, I think. Yeah,
absolutely.
And what about you?
For me, definitely astrological would be probably the first one because that's what started everything. I still practice with astrology today. I would have to second the earthy one, very much grounded in nature and following the cycles of the seasons and really, taking that into my practice. And then the last one I would have to say would probably be intentional. I try to be very intentional with my magic.
Yeah.
So.
And it's very important to be intentional because you don't know what you're stirring up if you're not intentional.
Exactly. It's like I tell my students, intention.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Now for the spicy one, the anti-aesthetic. What's one popular witchy thing that drives you crazy?
I will say, and this is hot take, don't kill me, I can't stand pendulums. I don't think they work for me. I mean, I believe they work for other people, but I have never been able to get a pendulum to work for me. I
Right.
have never been able to make myself believe that it's actually working.
Yep, I can understand that. My youngest son used to work with pendulums all the time, and they always responded to him, or was he responding to it? I still don't know to this day, but I could never get them to move the way that I thought they should.
Mhm.
So I don't even, because it's frustrating. I don't even bother anymore. Yep.
And what about you? What's that one thing that drives you crazy?
So there's a couple of things. I'm not bringing out the big list. I'm just doing the little list. I would have to say the term baby witch.
Yep, I hear you there.
So there are a lot of beginners, and I just think that's such a babyish name to call them. They're looking into something that they feel very passionately about and want to learn more. And I think calling them a baby, I think a baby Huey. You know, don't do that to them. Novice, beginner. There's got to be better terms than baby witch. And the next one is probably I'm going to have a lot of people that don't agree with this. The term blessed be. I don't like it. I think its origins were, the heart was in the right place when that term came to be, but I think now it's just too commercialized. I think people will say it as like, oh, look at me, I'm one of you too, and it just seems very insincere.
Okay.
I would rather say be well. It gives the same message, I think, but I think it's just warmer and less look at me.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That does.
All right. So, time to get practical. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What is your pantry staple? The one thing that you use that's in your kitchen every day that you use more for spell work than you do for cooking?
Good question. I would have to say lavender.
Yeah.
I use lavender in almost every spell work that I do with herbs or oils. It's, one of those scents that I just really find very attractive. So lavender is definitely what I would say I use more for magic than cooking. I do still use it for cooking. As you remember, my lavender lemon cookies are a big hit. But I definitely use it more in my magic practice than I do in the kitchen. What about you?
I would have to say it's probably two. Cinnamon would be one of them, and I know that you're a fan of cinnamon in your coffee. And I have to say the other one is bay leaves. So, yeah, they're there for making stews and soups, but they're also there to write intentions on, to bring in prosperity. So I tend to use them more for that than I do for making stews and soups.
Very interesting. All right. So now, tools of the trade, and you can only pick one. Tarot, oracle, or pendulums?
It's not pendulums. Not pendulums. I would have to say tarot, only because I've been working with the cards for so many years that it's kind of my comfort zone. Not that I don't enjoy going out and buying new decks and learning about new decks, and I think I've told you my last count, I have 35 tarot decks. Yeah, so it's a thing. Oracle cards, I do have a few oracle decks, and I'm liking what I'm getting from them. I'm just not as familiar with them as I am with tarot, but there's certainly something that I'm going to look more into.
It makes a lot of sense as a Capricorn.
Yeah.
You like those structures.
Yeah. Okay. How about you?
I actually prefer oracle cards.
Okay.
I am a little more, I like the interpretation of oracle cards, and I like that they can be different. I don't necessarily vibe with the structure of tarot. I'm one of the people that would probably need to memorize the book instead of going off of my intuition with the card meetings. So I feel like oracle cards are more flexible in that respect. So I would definitely say that I probably lean more towards Oracle if I need some sort of divination help.
Right. And I'm finding for a one card draw, an oracle card is perfect. It's perfect for that.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny that you say that you would be one that would need to memorize the book. And I always thought in my head, because I'm a Capricorn, you have to memorize the book. But I don't. I just, what is that card telling me? And it's so much more relaxed to do it that way. So, but it's really funny that as a Capricorn, I don't want to memorize the book. Yeah, okay.
All right, so last practical one. You're having a terrible day and have 30 seconds to shift your energy. What's your emergency spell?
I'd have to say intentional breathing. Closing my eyes, drawing breath in, holding it, visualizing blowing out or exhaling all of the stuff that's gotten to me. And that works well for me. Breath work is a big part of what I do.
Yeah, I would have to second that. I definitely think breath work can shift your energy in seconds.
Absolutely.
So 100%, like definitely, I would probably say the same thing, like intentional breath work. Maybe, doing like some box breathing or something along those lines.
Right.
Would definitely be how I would use that to shift my energy.
I used to, when I was teaching, I used to teach medical assisting students, and before a test, I would do deep breathing exercises with them, and it just dropped their anxiety, because so many students like me have test anxiety. And even just taking a couple of minutes or a minute and doing that with them really improved their test scores. They were surprised. So, yeah, I love breath work.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. And then final question. So, Dream Coven. If we could have one famous person, living or dead, join us for an episode, who are we inviting?
Stevie Nicks. Absolutely. Yep. I'm going to reach out to her manager and see if we can't get her in here to... if only. That's awesome. All right. So before we head out, we want to hear from you. We want to start a tradition called Consulting the Coven.
So every week we want to shout out a listener's win, a manifestation that came true, or even a question that you're struggling with.
So for next week, tell us, what was your first whisper into magic? Was it a movie? Was it a rock? Was it a book? Let us know.
So send us your stories and we'll pick one or two to read on our next episode.
Awesome. So, so do we want to do a visualization? Do we want to do a card pull?
I'll let you pick.
Why don't you do an oracle card? Or we'll each pick an oracle card.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay. Hold, please.
All right, so the oracle card deck that we're going to be using is called The Secret Language of Color.
Not surprised that you have that.
You know me so well.
And the anticipation builds. Are you ready? Okay. I'll take this one.
Ooh, okay. What did you get?
I got bronze,
Ooh.
which is a very, very nice looking card. And what it says below is strengthen your body. So this might be time to join the gym and actually go. The weather's getting warmer. Maybe it's time to start taking walks. So interpret this for you, however you think it fits you.
That's great. And I got rose, which it says attracting a relationship. So if you're, single, or if you're unhappy in your relationship, maybe this is your sign. Look a little bit more outside of your realm of possibilities and let your heart lead you.
Okay. Now we need to look again at these cards that we picked. So being post-surgery by 6 weeks, this is what my focus has been. increasing my strength and getting back to my baseline and maybe even a little beyond. So how does your card fit you?
Well, I am single. I'm a single mom, and I have been putting myself out there. So this is definitely a nice affirmation for me.
Yeah, that was pretty perfect the way that worked out. I like that Oracle deck already.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so basically that's it for our very first meeting of the Coven.
If you've enjoyed today's chat, please subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps the spirits find us in the algorithm.
You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Coven's Corner Podcast.
And if you want to send us your first whisper stories or just say hi, email us at covenscornerpodcast@gmail.com.
And we'll be back here at the altar every Witchy Wednesday.
Stay magical, everyone.
Be well.
As we close the circle for today, remember that the magic doesn't end with this episode. Keep looking for the magic in the mundane. If you enjoyed today's conversation, we'd love for you to connect with our Coven. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Coven's Corner Podcast and at www.thecovenscorner.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a Witchy Wednesday. We'll see you next time.